Hello and welcome to Confused Reviews, where a cartoon drawing reviews movies. And I just really wanted to talk about another action movie. Sorry it's not like Pumpkinhead 3 or Shark Exorcist. There's no shortage of options, varying from the good, the bad, and the unwatchably ugly, but then I decided it's been far too long since I laced up the boxing gloves and stood toe-to-toe with Sylvester Stallone. As one of my favorite childhood heroes with #1 box office hits for 6 consecutive decades and counting, this almost impossible to understand legend has enough reviewable movies that I could start today and not finish cracking jokes until after the heat death of the universe. And even then, I assume Rocky sequels and spin-offs will still be coming out. Speaking of which, we'll return to the Italian punch machine's end to the communistic USSR another time, because I instead landed on a buddy cop flick that I adore for its badass cheesiness and fucking stellar leading duo, Tango and Cash. Released right as the 80s was on its way out, this action-coded shoot-a-thon tells the tale of two cops framed for a crime they didn't commit and must team up to take down the ones who put them behind bars.
Isn't that like every buddy cop action movie? But thankfully this movie had zero production issues and released as intended from the conception, right?
I hear you naively whispering into your third screwdriver of the morning.
Whack.
Not quite. Everyone strap in because it's time to run down how this movie almost wound up a flaming fucking disaster, as well as how many bridges can burn behind the scenes. Initially envisioned as the setup, it sought to bring together Stallone, who was making mad lumps of cash in the 80s, and the equally testosterone-filled Arnold Schwarzenegger. The latter passed on the project, being recast with Patrick fucking Swayze, but Bodie didn't stay attached for very long as he dropped out of this film to play the coolest cooler around in Roadhouse. Then, in the most obvious move in maybe the entirety of American cinema, Kurt Russell landed the second half of the team. Clearly the only logical follow-up. There was also many other potential picks and connections, but we don't have all day. More importantly than the dramatic shuffling of stars in front of the lens was the even more sinister shenanigans brewing behind it. Producer Jon Peters, who, if we're being honest, seems like a total fucking kook, was really pushing for the movie to be sillier and more campy, which really clashed hard with original director Andrei Konchalovsky, who hoped to give a more realistic dissection of action schlock being pumped out every weekend. Getting royally pissed off at the higher-ups breathing down his neck, Konchalovsky basically brought the movie to a snail's pace, further angering the gents with the checkbook. 3 months into shooting, Andrei ultimately became the producer's scapegoat and was fired. So with the Christmas release date looming, they hired Albert Magnoli to hop in to construct the unfinished and unwritten final act, along with executive producer Peter MacDonald and Sly himself stepping in to ghost direct certain parts.
That's fucking interesting, man. That's fucking interesting.
On top of the utter disarray the chaotic filming already suffered, there was writer drama coupled with the budget increasing rapidly and practically pissing away another 20 mil, with one other factor leading the way for even more butting heads. Stallone reportedly had a huge head on set, causing his ego to dip into the firing of original DP Barry Sonnenfeld, whose clear vision and artistic style definitely not the problem, but Sly feeling he wasn't lighting him properly. However, through everything, even having a say in firing Andrei, Stallone remained a voice of reason, and his status in the business helped get the reels to theaters while the film was still wet. It's a miracle this movie didn't wind up a whirlwind of explosive diarrhea. What? So with all that BTS knowledge floating around in your mind, let's take a look back at a film that made even the most troubled movie makings look like a cakewalk in a display of dudes being dudes. This is Tango and Cash. The movie starts with Raymond Tango, played by Frank Stallone's brother, as he speeds down the same road from the Fall Guys pilot to chase down a gas truck containing drugs. He pulls over and weapons up, choosing to channel his inner man with no name and have a standoff with this giant piece of machinery, but more importantly shows off the value of wearing a seatbelt.
Click your ticket, punks.
Rifling through all the second act cop cliches a tad prematurely,
I want your badge, I want your weapon, I want your ass. Who in the fuck do you think you are?
still isn't enough to deter Tango, as after Baker and Ponch can't find anything other than gasoline, he decides to shoot at the truck full of gas.
What do you know? It's snowing.
Good thing he was right, otherwise this movie would have been a lot shorter. Been a long time since I was able to use that bit. Almost made me gloss over this low-hanging fruit.
He thinks he's Rambo.
Rambo is a pussy.
Oh yeah, Barney Ross or John Spartan, you know. More interesting than this display is the setup itself was borrowed from the Jackie Chan classic Police Story, where he performed a similar stunt. As a nod to this, Chan would clap back by doing a better zipline prison escape than we'll see later on in the movie Super Cop. Jackie is one of the baddest motherfuckers to ever perform in film. What were we talking about? Just as he's celebrating his victory, we conveniently see the bad guy strolling through on his way to get some lunch, Yves Perret, played by the late Jack Palance. He's hatching a ploy to finally take down the duo, and on that note, we bounce over to see what I presume is just a normal day for Kurt Russell, being fawned over by the local kids and taking a second to admire his handiwork and majestic fucking mullet. I mean, it makes sense that those luscious locks would cause such distraction, but it does lead to an elongated chase where Cash goes pound for pound with his assailant, as the two break the fuck out of everything in this parking garage. That apparently is the ideal spot to bone in the middle of the day. Alright. Flashing, excuse me, to the police station where Cash immediately whips out his gun and points it around with very little subtlety, as well as politely gets some intel out of the gunman, played by Philip Tahn. Who needs a Starsky and Hutch style good cop, bad cop scenario when Kurt Russell can just do both?
Don't forget to wash your hands.
Meanwhile, Tango is given the same secret location Cash's flat-topped friend told him about, and he's in for the action.
What are you doing this for?
Action.
Or perhaps he was telling the director to start the scene.
Action.
No, but truthfully speaking, if he was a meter maid or whatever, I doubt anyone would give a shit. Over with our antagonist, we see him chewing the scenery, and the scenery chewing the film, as the rest of our little band of baddies is revealed. Requin, played by Brian James, and Quan, played by veteran actor James Hong. Seriously, you name a movie or show, and chances are he's been in it. Big Trouble in Little China, Malcolm in the Middle, Dukes of Hazzard, Kung Fu Panda, Blade Runner, and the resume goes on and on.
SpongeBob.
Probably. So I thought he's more than deserving of this worthless salute, so here's to you. But don't let that distract you from this meeting with the architect, who also unknowingly shows off that this movie is following the Indiana Jones model of villainy, with the main madman, the side villain, and the big guns. And to top it all off, he's got pet mice and the mousetrap drinking game. Ages 21 and up.
Is that a real thing?
No,
Oh.
I made it up. Ray and Gabe make it to the dimly lit building, finally meeting up and being duped by Dorian from The Mask's ponytail, with his gun left as evidence to this dead agent.
Christ, that's my gun.
What's your gun doing here?
Hey, that's my gun. I put it in my locker.
Considering they just met, and from what we've seen, don't get coupled together as a team yet, so not sure how this works logistically, but I'll buy it.
I'd buy that for $1.
Crooked cops are as common to the genre as guns and explosions, after all. One tilted table trial comes and goes, revealing their extremely minimal sentence of 18 months, and a fantastic outburst from Cash that works as a way to describe the fate of the Furious.
This whole thing fucking sucks. I mean, this is the biggest pile of shit.
There's a slight mix-up with the accommodations, and their arrangement of cushy country club prison is swapped with Shawshank's sister location, where all the guards are dressed like the captain from Cool Hand Luke.
That's your name, dude.
At least the jumpsuits got a splash of color. Anyways, the Outlaws have a straight-up dick-measuring contest, hurling insults left and right, ending with better comedic timing than The Longest Yard's entire runtime.
I think they're gonna stick us in general population.
You know they don't put cops in general population.
Never put cops in general population, huh?
Since it seems like anything and everything is fair game here, they're taken to their cozy B&B, all while the others toss a bunch of crap some poor janitor's going to have to mop up. Oh, and I hear Rorschach escaping upstairs.
I'm not locked in here with you. That's it! You're locked in here with me!
And just in case you had a hankering for one more cartoonishly evil side character ripped directly from Over the Top, we see the illustrious return of Face, played by Robert Zadar, who not only is my ultimate fan cast for a live-action Crimson Chin, but was also everyone's favorite second-string slasher, Maniac Cop. Huge missed opportunity that a guy as charismatic as him didn't co-star with Bruce Campbell in a buddy cop adventure called Chin Trouble. The inmates decide it's time for the boys to dance, but Judge Dredd and Stuntman Mike decide they don't care for shock therapy, so they speed up their escape to avoid having to meet Big Bob. You bet your ass I just made the millionth joke comparing this movie to vile prison rape. The lines of who is on what side stay blurrier than Matt Murdock on a merry-go-round, but the troops get really crafty in their escape.
Parkour! 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 I'm right behind you, Andy! Parkour.
Even down to the greatest piece of advice this movie taught 8-year-old confused reviews. If you ever find yourself in a storming escape situation, always make sure you have a belt handy to be usable as a makeshift zipline to safety. Words I live by. However, before we fully get out of here, we require one more face off.
Face off.
Plus he turns into a foobar rhubarb. I'm shocked to find out this is probably where Michael Myers got the idea from. Every one of these videos winds up more mindless horror movie babble. Even here.
What?
And I know it's been a bit since we saw what Perret is up to, and don't you worry because Ratcatcher Sr. is still being just as fucking crazy as can be. Bring back villains like this. Cash is a little low on insane gadgets to shoot at evil assholes, so he has Owen, played by Michael J. Pollard, suit him up.
See you, buddy.
Speaking of actors named Michael Jeter plays Floyd Skinner, brother of Seymour.
Good Lord, what is happening in there?
Aurora Borealis?
Who is persuaded into admitting he was the jerk-off who manipulated the tapes to incriminate them. Cash responds by terminating Mr. Noodle's oversized bat computer.
The state-of-the-art equipment.
Tango and Cash wouldn't be able to fully embrace the buddy cop quota and fossilize itself alongside 48 Hours, Lethal Weapon, etc., without throwing in a last-minute love interest for Snake Plissken to pursue. I've seen much worse musical number, dance tomfuckery. This one's definitely in, like, the top 12. The movie milks the backstage club setup, and Kiki, played by Teri Hatcher, agrees to help Gabriel out of the obstacle at hand. Because why not use the classic Good Burger gender switcheroo to do it?
Water! Water! I need water!
A lot going on here.
Yeah. What's even more odd is that this isn't the last Jon Peters produced project that involves a drawn-out drag scene. So either the guy thinks it's really funny, or we unearthed a fetish. Speaking of fucking, speaking of blowing out backs, speaking of euphemism, they head back to her place to, not so tastefully, act as if MacReady is getting some action, rather than a massage.
More?
Good. Deeper.
Oh my God, Gabe, I can feel it going in.
Oh, harder.
Oh, it's almost in.
God!
I've been known to dabble in the loud snapping halls of a chiropractor's office, and I've never heard someone be able to finish from it. But snapping out of that juvenile jiving, turns out Catherine is Tango's sister. And even more tension-inducing is that Tango's captain, Schroeder, portrayed by an uncredited Jeffrey Lewis, explains that he's for hire as a William H. Macy stunt double for birthday parties, and that they have a mere 24 hours to stop the scum who wronged them. Because without it, what's the rush? Once again stopping to see Owen, he provides them with this monstrosity conglomerate of car parts all super glued into a testament to the human condition, or I call it the Ecto 3. They quietly and discreetly shuffle in, and use as much nuance as a Dukes of Hazzard climax to tear up everything and drive almost as recklessly as I do when I see those assholes on bikes who ride in the road.
Hey, asshole!
Oh, shit!
I hit him!
Tango and Cash continue to bicker like an old married couple, and we see that, of course, Perrette kidnapped Kiki. What would Bowser do? Making this fast, Cash pays off Chekhov's crotch grenade. Funhouse mirrors are used to cleverly take out Connell Cochran. And they peacefully and calmly get out with a bunch of time left to defuse the explosives. Nah, I'm just fucking around.
Well, it looks like there's a lot of new pollution in the sky tonight, and they call it Perrette.
And wouldn't you know it, they embrace for a high-five freeze frame. Oh, yeah. Delightful.
They high-five freeze frame.
Super friends. And that was Tango and Cash, and I'm being completely honest when I say this is one of the most entertaining action movies ever made. And I can already picture some of you freaks just itching to jump on the movie's shortcomings, because being a contrarian is an internet necessity. And all I can say to that...
Okay.
There's not much to say in terms of recapping it. Sly and Kurt have charismatic chemistry off the chain. Jack Palance kills it as the villain with the best suit since the mayor in Jaws. And the action is fun, and the soundtrack carries every scene nicely. Yeah, that's about it in terms of Johnny Lawrence's favorite flick.
We got a new lead on Robbie.
A lead? What are you, Tango and Cash?
Tango and Cash were narcotics detectives. It's a totally different thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake.
Check it out if you want a good time with nonsensical action eye candy using every trope in the book. I'm going to give Turner and Hooch... It's actually incredibly poetic that the final big-budget studio moneymaker of the 1980s was this celebration of excess soon after another Confused Reviews alumni, Christmas Vacation, both of which are endlessly rewatchable. I might just start it over from the top. I'm Confused Reviews. Thanks for watching.
Well, time to wipe my ass on all of his DVDs. And I'm taking these for my troubles.